Today I'm going to be looking at 3 apps to try to help improve the video quality on the iPhone 14 Pro. I'm going to be looking at StaCam, BeastCam, and Cinema P3. Let's see how well they do. This is part 1 of a 3-part series on apps that can help with photo quality when diving with a smartphone. In my case, an iPhone 14 Pro. Many of you may have seen the video where I did a compare of the 13 and 14 Pro. The 14 Pro's biggest issue is Apple's documented and known focusing issue. My attempt was to see if any of these apps could help. Full disclosure, these apps are for use with an underwater housing that has touch screen. If you have a hardback housing or a housing that requires an app to manage the housing and or the camera, like Hot Dive, Sea Life, Kraken, these apps won't work. These apps are standalone. You need a touchscreen housing like Divevolk, my favorite housing. The first app we're going to look at is called StaCam or StaCam. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I have a pretty detailed tutorial section, so please bear with me. And let's see how it did. The good, the bad, and the ugly. StaCam, as I'm going to pronounce it, is an add-on app for use with the Zhiyun Smooth 5 gimbal. It can, however, be used without the gimbal, and there is a free version. While you don't get all the bells and whistles unless you pay for the Prime version, there's enough here to make the free version useful as a basic tool. For my initial tests, I knew I was doing 3 dives and figured I would do 1 app per dive starting with StaCam. That proved to be a challenge. The conditions this day were not the best. Water was 55 degrees, visibility was poor due to previous storms, there was significant surge, and cloud cover. Unfortunately, 3 weeks later when I did another open water test, I had similar weather challenges. I tried to concentrate on those aspects important to me. Use with each lens, stabilization, the 3 presets for ISO, white balance, and shutter speed, and lastly, focus, exposure, inclusive of the reticles. I had a lot more difficulty than anticipated doing all the testing I wanted. Once home, I decided to do some additional control tests in a more forgiving environment. I retested each preset, first with auto, then with each min-max setting to see the range of impact. You must remember to use each of these settings in conjunction with each other to get the best overall outcome. I recorded the results of each test. Most of the video is consistent with the screen recording, so I'll leave those off except when we get to stabilization. The next few test clips are at 2x speed. Shutter speed. Normally I would adjust this last based on ISO and exposure. Obviously, as I pushed it down, there was significant washout. Then the ISO test. You must remember if you increase the ISO, your videos will be a lot grainier and have a lot more noise, as you see here. This test was done on a partly cloudy day in a shaded area. White balance. You can really see the changes in color tone when I push the Kelvin down. The quirky thing here was that when I set it back to auto, it didn't reset immediately. I put it back into manual mode, and then it reset. Not sure why. I then separated the exposure and focus reticles, dialing up and down the focus bar on the right. As you see here, it changes the focal length. To reset to automatic, just touch the center of the screen again. A means automatic. The little lock icon means you're not in automatic mode and have set a manual length. The exposure reticle also has a slider. The little sun moon icon works pretty easily. Slide it up and down to change exposure. My next important settings test was stabilization. The preset tests you just saw were done with stabilization mode set to auto. I wanted to test each of the anti-shake/stabilization settings. In fairness, I purposely and vigorously rocked the camera, shaking it to see how extreme I could get with each mode. The close or none option, as you see, did nothing and the video matches the screen recording. In standard mode, there is some improvement, but there is still a lot of motion in the video. In movie mode, you can finally see visible improvement in motion reduction. The highest setting, professional mode, clearly had significant impact on the aggressive shaking I was doing. This would become my default setting going forward. In fairness, I went back and tested auto mode. While it was adequate, I still preferred movie or professional mode. As mentioned, I did not test any LUTs or features requiring Prime membership. The next 8 minutes are a full detailed app tutorial. I've already covered some of that, so if you just want to see my assessments, jump ahead to the good, bad, and ugly segments. So let's take a look at the app itself. Once in, what you see on the face are the icons controlling the app. We're going to start on the left side, and I'm going to go clockwise around the screen. First, you have the flashing Bluetooth symbol. It asks you to pair to the non-existent gimbal. Since you don't need it, just ignore this. The lens icon is pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to pick the lens you want. The one note is on an iPhone, it also shows an auto. If you select auto, you will not be able to change focus, shutter speed, ISO, or white balance. Then you have this little face icon for glamour effects. You can't get these unless you subscribe to a Prime membership. It also doesn't work if you are filming in 4K or 60 FPS. I didn't bother with this. I'm not sure I would use any of these. To begin with, underwater, I would apply anything I needed post-production. The little picture icon is for the photo library. As you see, I only have video. You can scroll through your videos back and forth. There is a like folder as well for those clips you've selected as such. Tap on a video to select it. Once viewing, tapping I in the upper right-hand corner gets you details about the video, dates, frame rate, as well as audio info if needed. Clicking the heart in the lower left adds it to your likes folder. Trash can is obviously the delete function. The download icon will add it to your camera roll. In the main scroll, there is a select button in the upper right where you can process several clips at one time. To go back, hit the back icon in the upper left, and again if you want to go back to the main app screen. The lightning bolt turns on the phone's light. I wouldn't normally use this. The time roll is obviously your video duration. The battery indicates the remaining charge of the phone's battery. This changes to green if you are actively charging the phone. The card shows available storage on your phone. Settings. Here you can log into your account if you have one, set the language, the cache clearing, and check your version number. If you go to filming, you see that it defaults to horizontal, which is fine, versus portrait. You can prompt for a different tone for on and off recording if you want to use that. You can use the LUT or simply preview the LUT. Using the LUT adds it to the final video, other than just preview mode. Anti-shakes is simply the stabilization options available. You have none, standard, movie, professional, and auto. Any of the options that have these side arrows allows you to scroll through the options without going into the menu itself. Your bitrate options will change based on what type of video you are shooting, 4K, 1080p, 720, and what FPS you are using. For codec, you can choose H.265 or 264, but why go back unless you have an older computer? For filming countdown, I set it to close. Underwater, I don't want any delay. I want to start filming immediately. Save to video system. While testing, I set it to only StaCam so I wouldn't clutter my iCloud or have it go to my camera roll. I did change my location setting later to save while using the app. And for footage analysis, you need to register and join Prime membership, which I didn't do. Back on the main screen in the middle right of the screen is your focus icon. A equals autofocus. Tap on this to get a slide bar to change your focus. Once set, tap on the main screen, it will reset back to auto. This is always on auto if you've selected auto as your lens setting. Moving on, the little screen in the lower right hides all the main screen icons. You tap to hide and tap to return. The next icon is for LUTs. Some can only be used at specific frame rates. Once you have the correct frame rate, there are 5 different categories of LUTs. Many of these, however, are not available unless you have a Prime subscription. The next icon is called footage, but it's really different types of live metering options that you have. These are similar to other apps. You've got focus, zebra, false color, highlight clippings, monochrome. These are just different ways that you can look at the video and see whether or not you want to make changes. This requires a Prime subscription, as does the next icon, which is a framing aspect ratio. This doesn't actually change the video, but provides several different guides. In the lower center is the histogram. There are 4 different settings to choose from. The little dot above it lets you know which one you are viewing. Just to the right of that is the sound bar. To the left, you have your presets. For resolutions, you have 720, 1080, and 4K. Under 720, you've got filming, slow-mo, and time-lapse. Filming, you have up to 240 FPS. Under slow-mo, you have up to 8x. And under time-lapse, you have intervals up to 60 seconds. For 1080p, filming has all FPS up to 240. For slow-mo, it's the same, with speeds up to 8x and time-lapse intervals up to 60 seconds. 4K settings are similar to Apple's. In filming, you have up to 60 FPS. There is no slow-mo available. And time-lapse, again, has intervals up to 60 seconds. The next 3 presets all work the same way, with an auto or manual setting, and then a slider bar for the desired increment that you wish. There's white balance, ISO, and shutter speed. That brings us to your standard video on-off record button. This changes to a square. You can add a tone under setting. Back under the Bluetooth icon, you have your digital zoom in the middle. Tap that circle with the 1.x using another slider that allows you to zoom in and out, up to 6x. Finally, touch your finger in the middle of the main screen to get the focus and exposure reticles. Separate them and place them where you want the focus or the exposure to be set. Tap to lock, tap to unlock. Use the slider on the right to change focus. The little lock icon means you're not in automatic mode and have set a manual length. For exposure, use the little sun, which allows you to change the exposure via another slider bar. I wasn't able to find a way to reset this and had to always return it to a 0 setting if I wanted to put it back to original. When you're done and ready to edit, you can download to your camera roll. Then from Photos or Camera, you can do the edit there. Or you can airdrop to your computer as I do. If you airdrop, there are 2 ways. You simply airdrop the StaCam's file and it saves with the StaCam's funky name. I prefer to set all photos data option to on, and I make sure I have my photos set to download and keep originals. This creates a folder for each video with a standard img_xxx named file within the folder. The reason I do this is that AirDrop occasionally does some kind of conversion to a file. I'm not sure what triggers this. As you see here, even though I set my files as H.265, once they were downloaded, it changed them to H.264 and defaulted the color code from P3D265 to HD111. If this isn't important to you, then disregard. So the good. The base non-prime version is pretty straightforward, easy to use. Yes, there are a lot of features, but if you stick to the core components, it allows for relatively quick changes to key presets, ISO, white balance, etc. This is helpful in green water or deeper diving where light again is an issue. It allows you to keep your videos in a folder versus automatically pushing them to your camera roll, which then automatically pushes them to iCloud and taking up space. While I was testing, I didn't want to have to clear out any garbage mini videos that I would never use anyway. I know in the past I complained about this, but I've changed my mind. As for color, most of the time my color was pretty good. Most folks will have this in auto mode in shallow water where light is plentiful, but I like the results. The stabilization works well. In Catalina, most of my shots were either set to video or professional mode. Even with the surge, I got pretty stable results. The best thing was that in professional mode, I did not see a lot of frame cropping. The first three of these are more of a nuisance than bads. I don't like the fact that with the preset to horizontal, it means you have to swipe to the side to get out. It's not very responsive and took me a few tries. Then you have to do the normal swipe up again to exit the app. There's no slow-mo with 4K, but this is a wash as Apple is the same. The icons are pretty tiny. This can be tough to initiate, especially in cold water. That day it was 55 degrees. I used a thin golf glove on my right hand because I couldn't get the icons to work with a standard glove. Needless to say, my right hand got a bit crampy. Battery drain. This may be a wash, but there does seem to be a bit more drain than just using the Apple camera itself. While you can select multiples for moving videos to the like folder or for deleting, you can't do that for sharing or downloading. Unfortunately, there is no cinematic mode that you get with the base iPhone. If you set auto mode in lens selections, it seems to default to the ultra-wide lens. As you see here, there's a lot of vignetting and image stretch on the outside of the video. I would have thought the primary wide-angle lens would have been default. Even while using autofocus, I found issues, especially in murky, silty water. In fairness, Apple has the same problem. When I did this test, I had upgraded to 16.3.1. I'm now using 16.4.1. Next time in murky water, I'll have to retest. And now the ugly. There aren't many uglies, but these do pop up. I can't find a way to set this to 10-bit video. The iPhone 14 allows for 10-bit by setting HDR video as on. Everything with StaCam is 8-bit. And if it only shoots an 8-bit video, then why bother using a log LUT, which generally results in clipped highlights and shadows with 8-bit. Additionally, most of their LUTs can't be used if you shoot over 30 FPS. Bummer. A major peeve was that I had several occasions where the controls didn't respond as expected. Getting autofocus back to manual if the reticles were aligned, or getting presets back to auto. Underwater, I need controls to respond consistently so I don't waste time or miss a shot. I probably lost 7 to 8 minutes futzing around with the control buttons. Also, the exposure reticle has no quick way to get back to auto. You must dial it back to 0. Additionally, they indicate the exposure reticle is an independent feature available with other presets. It's not. If you set ISO, shutter speed, or white balance presets to manual, the exposure reticle goes away and is not usable. I found this out when trying to play with exposure at extreme low light. While it was nice to see in a dark situation I could eke out some more light, I couldn't couple that with other changes to, say, shutter speed. To make matters worse, in low light, once I played with exposure, the focusing seemed to be off. Hey, I get it, it's a free app, but with most of the add-ons you might want, it requires Prime membership. Your yearly cost would be $24 if paid monthly, $22 if paid quarterly, and $20 if you pay annually. On top of that, to get 100% of functionality, you need to pay extra again for Prime Plus. 25 annually, 28 quarterly, and 30 if monthly. Couple this with many of the negative reviews about poor support, you add concern. Plus, the privacy agreement gives them access to a large amount of information on your phone I feel they don't need. My goal was not to have a subscription for an app I'm not going to use every day. Well, this was a long review. I hope you found it useful. For those of you still with me, I appreciate you sticking with it. So, overall, as a free app with limited use, it's fine. I mean, I'll continue to play with it. I wouldn't spend the money on the Prime or Prime Plus versions. Personally, many of those options I wouldn't use anyway. It has its merits. I mean, you can change your white balance, your ISO, your focusing. If you find that you need to make those kinds of changes, then try it out. I'm still working on the follow-up videos for StaCam and Cinema P3, so look out for those. Please stay safe in your diving adventures, and as always, go explore, get wet.